Hello, hi, and welcome. Welcome into tonight's live. How's everybody doing tonight? Hopefully, you guys are having a great Friday evening. If I saw you earlier, welcome back. If you're new to the channel, welcome in. And if you're a returning Titan that I didn't see earlier, welcome back for tonight's live. We did do a day live earlier today, so if you missed it and you want to go back and check it out, we'd love to have you go check it out. So, but tonight, new case, new time, new case. Different time, different case. Well, same time, but you know what I mean. We're here later. We've been doing 2 lives a day if you guys haven't caught on to that this past week. So, but my name's Tanya or TitaniumBuilt, and it's so good to see everybody. I'm going to say hi to my friends, all my people in the chat. Say hi to you guys, and then we'll get started with tonight's live. Give it a couple minutes, let some people kind of come in the door, see who we see. Hey, Cheryl. Hey, Mary Beth. Did you have a long day or long week at work, Mary Beth? Hey, Catherine. Hey, Stephanie. Man, hey, Ladybug. I'm like, just thinking of it. I'm having anxiety for you. Hey, Lisa. Hey, Catherine. Welcome in. It's good to see you guys. It's good to see everybody. Hey, for a baby mom. I'm just reading the chat. You guys are funny. It's clue season's here. Welcome in. It's clue season. That's funny. I got my flu shot there the other day, speaking of which. I did go and do that. And then I went to the pharmacy, and then pharmacist asked me how my arm was doing. I didn't know if me and him were going to like each other or not. Because I don't know. It was like he's a character. He's a character, let me tell you. But I like him. And he's finally warming up to me. Cat's Life, Roxanne. I'm like, I'm always there. I want my $2 Target coupons when they come in too. Let's believe that. Hey, Cat's Life. Hey, Citizen Sleuth. Oh, driving. Well, be careful driving. Hey, Aries Pjork. How are you doing? As the excellence of steel is strength, and the excellence of art is beauty, so is the excellence of mankind is moral character. Huh. Well, sometimes we need to hear that, don't we? Hey, Shauna. Yvonne's here. Well, we just got the whole clan here. I know I'm going slow. I'm just slow tonight. I'm just slow tonight. I feel like I'm going kind of slow, but that's okay. Extreme Blonde's in here and everything. Everybody's here. We're all here. Now I feel like I've got to change my my banner thing up there because it's blue from earlier. Because I'm a weird person. We'll change it to like this weird funky color. Oh, look at that. Almost matches my shirt. That's what I try to do. I try to match it up. I'm a matchy person. Hey, Beam. I'm a matchy person. So we're going to talk about Idaho tonight. We've been following a podcast for a couple seasons now, and it's called the Idaho Massacre. This is the 2nd season. They've also covered, if you guys are familiar with the Pike County Massacre, that case, they covered that case as well. I feel like we should go over it. It's very interesting. It's actually like 30 minutes from where I grew up, but they covered that. So, we're going to go over that this evening. But before we do that, I figured we would just go over what's going on kind of on the legal side of things with Brian Kohberger. And the prosecutors are wanting to, the defense is wanting to move the trial out of Latah County. And the prosecution is saying, oh, well, hold on a second. I don't think so. Not so fast. So prosecutors are objecting to them wanting to move the trial to Boise, Ada County and Boise, Idaho. And I've told you guys before, if they move this trial to Boise, that's the third trial that we shipping over there. And I don't know, what's that going to say about those small towns? Can them small towns not handle a big case to where, every big case is going to go right to Boise? I don't know. She's okay, Cheryl. She's been modding in a chat this week. She's been doing like daytime mod, I think. So like she's been real tired. I think that's what it is. I think so anyway. Because she said something the other day in the comments, which I need to check my comments, guys. I need to check my comments tomorrow. Not for pain, but for sleep for baby mom. But I'm not the one to ask. I don't think they work that good for me. Just for me, though. That's just me. But I swear I could take anything. It doesn't affect me as much as it affects other people. I'm steel in here, all that titanium. Hey, Reno. So we'll go ahead and we'll start with this little article. And then after we're done reading over this, we'll go over to the podcast. Yvonne said, why are you passing them out? Asking for a friend. My friend bakes like goods and makes different things for people. And she had us over one night. This was a while back. She had us over, and Vincent and I were there. And she made these like Toll House kind of crackers. You know, those Toll House crackers they're like the buttery ones. And they tasted just like those. I thought that that's what we were eating. She didn't tell us. She just said, here, have some of these. Like, you know, that's just because she's like, that's just her personality. She, in her mind, thought she'd like told us. So she's just like, here, have some, you know, not thinking. Vince was sleeping in the chair and I was talking her ear off. I was like, what was that? What are we eating? But it's so good. They were so good. Back on my BS. Hey, welcome in. So we'll go over to Brian Kohberger, I guess. He's kind of dull, you know. He needs to do something in there, like to ramp up the excitement or something. But prosecutors, there's just a bunch of, you know, right now it's just a bunch of paperwork and legal jargon. But the trial is supposed to be next year, June 2025. So everybody mark off all your vacations. Just mark them off your list. You know, no one's going on vacation next summer. We're all going to be here. Just kidding. We're all going to be here watching the trial. But it just says, Idaho prosecutors have formally objected to University of Idaho students murder suspect Brian Kohberger's motion to change venue and have his trial moved out of Latah County where the slayings took place. The filing signed by Latah County prosecutor Bill Thompson and Ingrid Beatty, a special assistant attorney general for the state, was made public Tuesday evening. And it was like a 22-page document, I think. Yeah, 22 pages. Defendant has filed a motion to change venue, requesting that the trial in this matter be moved from Latah County, where the offenses took place, to Ada County, some 300 miles away. They wrote to support his motion. He conducted a survey of prospective jurors in Latah County, Ada County, Canyon County, and Bannock County. The findings of that survey, they argued, have not justified a move. And then I did put the other day, I put it in the chat. If you guys need it again, I could look it up for you. But I put the Idaho judicial system, like all their little case files in this chat for you. And if you need them, I can put them in there for you. So you can have this document and any other documents that are, you know, out right now for Brian Kohberger. So far from demonstrating that a Latah County jury pool has been uniquely subjected to an utterly corrupted environment, as defendant argues in his brief, the data shows that pervasive and wide-ranging coverage of this case throughout the entire state of Idaho has led to high case recognition among survey respondents across all 4 surveyed counties, they continued. I wonder what it would have done if they would have taken it out of the state. Just curious. You know, I don't think it would have made a difference. Prosecutors also took issue with the defense survey of potential jurors, arguing it does not reflect non-response bias and that poll residents are not given an explanation for the survey. The court must ask itself, would an individual who was asked for their opinion about an upcoming jury trial continue a survey if they had no opinions about the upcoming jury trials? And once the survey started, would a prudent, thoughtful, and conscientious person who is reluctant to pass judgment with limited information opine to a stranger whether they believe a criminally accused is guilty of murder, prosecutors wrote. Kohberger's lawyers have claimed that the suspected quadruple murderer cannot get a fair trial in Latah County due to extensive inflammatory pretrial publicity. Their client is accused of sneaking into a house at 4 a.m. and ambushing 4 University of Idaho students, some of whom were sleeping. The massacres killed 21-year-old Madison Mogan and Kaylee That's wrong. Oh, wait, that's right. I'm sorry. That's right. I thought I read a different name there. Sorry. 21-year-olds Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez, along with 20-year-old Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin. All 4 suffered multiple wounds from a large knife, according to authorities. Kohberger, a 29-year-old Pennsylvania criminology PhD student, was attending Washington State University in the neighboring town of Pullman, about 10 miles away across the state line. Police arrested him at his parents' house in the Pocono Mountains after he drove cross-country with his dad in the weeks following the murders. The University of Idaho is in Moscow, Idaho, the seat of Latah County. Much of the case has been conducted behind closed doors, with numerous filings made under seal and restrictive gag order. Experts say the motion to have a trial moved is a common step in high-profile cases. Changes of venue are rare, but can happen. Well, we just seen it happen in Lori Vallow's trial, so, yeah. The double murder trials of Idaho's cult mom, Lori Vallow, and California's Scott Peterson both moved out of the counties where the offenses took place. The judge entered not guilty pleas on Kohberger's behalf. At his arraignment in May, he could face the death penalty if convicted. The trial is expected to begin next year and could take up to 15 weeks. The University of Idaho announced last week it would dedicate a new installation of the victims at a ceremony on August 21st. The Vandal Healing Garden and Memorial was designed by classmates from the school's College of Art and Architecture and is meant to honor all the students who have died while enrolled at the university. It includes a special sculpture for the 4 November 2022 victims. Okay, so we have to wait to see it, I guess. They're probably going to unveil it. Wonder what it looks like. I wonder what it's going to look like. And, I'm like over here, like I'm passing judgment already. I shouldn't be. It's probably beautiful. It's probably beautiful. But I wonder what they would do. What would you do for 4? I wonder what your design would be. I'm going to need everybody to go do a design and then send it to me after it's notarized. Just kidding. If you watched the live earlier, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, that's funny. That's too much. So I wonder what it looks like. I bet it's beautiful. I just wonder what it looks like. I'm just so, I don't like waiting. Now I have something I guess to wait on, Oh, Roxanne. I was just reading your messages for a minute. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions and I can try to answer them for you. We'll go ahead. We'll move over to the podcast. I listened to this earlier. So it follows this lady named Tanya. It's not me. Could be. You never know. Maybe it is. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's a voice changer. No, it's just it's a lady named Tanya, and she goes and she's I think she said she is Muslim actually. She goes to Idaho and she's not sure how the town will perceive her. And she comes in and she wants to look at this, the Christ Church there. And she just talks about her experience, like her point of view, her experience there. And she just talks about the Christ Church, and she went there to the church and went in the church and went to a service, and she'll tell us about that and how that can maybe connected to with a case. Basically, these people that are in this church, they take up like a fifth of the population of Moscow. They believe in no law, no law by man, but law by God. So their laws are you're no divorce. That would be like a law for them. That one, that would be nope, against law. Just things like that. So we'll listen to this. It's 34, 35 minutes. Oh, Aries, I don't think so. I wouldn't represent myself. I'd be surprised if he makes it to court. I think, he might make it to court. I don't know if they'll give him a deal, but I think he's going to try to get a deal. I think he can get one. I think so. If you guys do not forget, you're out to dinner. Oh, well, hey, DM, have fun at dinner. That sounds like fun. I came home tonight and dinner was made for me, and I was so excited. I went to try on clothes at Target. It was a mess. But I'm going to put some overlays over the, over the picture, over the thing here. That way you have something to look at. Yeah, enjoy your dinner. This might be a little loud on your ears. Not too bad.
One of the community members told me, Moscow will never be the same again. And when I heard that, it broke my heart.
It's hard not to imagine the victims in their last steps, in their last meals. It's impossible not to be haunted by that.
I'm sitting towards the back, and then I see him walk in, and then we locked eyes.
This is The Idaho Massacre, a production of KT Studios and iHeartRadio. Season 2, Episode 10, Boots on the Ground. I'm Courtney Armstrong, a producer at KT Studios with Stephanie Leidecker and Gabe Castillo. Stephanie and I spoke with veteran journalist Tanya Rashid, who traveled to Moscow and stayed there on and off over the course of 8 months. Tanya has worked for outlets including National Geographic, Vice, and PBS NewsHour. We asked Tanya what drew her to this type of work.
I think part of the reason why I became a journalist has a lot to do with my exposure to extreme worlds. I was born in Saudi Arabia, and then we moved to Salt Lake City. So it's like one isolated place, Saudi Arabia, to Utah, which is like totally polar opposites. So I feel like that has a lot to do with my curiosity for different worlds. For me, it's been a lot about uncovering difficult stories, hard to access stories. And for the past 13 years, somehow organically, my niche has become covering traumatized communities. I've covered famine, genocide, gender-based violence across the world, and tragedy in our own backyard.
Tragedy in our own backyard. I feel like that brings us to, the tragedy in Moscow, Idaho.
When I got there, it was 3 months after, and the community itself was incredibly just very afraid and not wanting to associate with any media whatsoever. Because after the murders, as you both very well know, there was a lot of press and internet sleuths just taking over this sleepy town. Part of me, when I arrived there, I felt like I was in the 70s, like in a 70s film, because everyone's just very hippie-tastic there. Prior to arriving, I was afraid because Idaho, I'm thinking, being a brown Muslim woman arriving in this community, like how will they receive me? But, Moscow residents are some of the kindest, most wonderful people that I've encountered. And that was surprising to me. But yeah, when I arrived, I could feel the tension on the ground. And so that's like my first observation when I got to the ground, that I really needed to take my time and get to know the people in a very, very sensitive and mindful way.
When you did first touch down in Moscow, can you just describe what was it like, the energy of the community? Did that change or evolve as days went on?
Well, I landed in Spokane and I drove 2 hours in the night. And as I drove, I noticed the rolling hills, the Palouse. And since I was driving at night, it was just kind of eerie. And I had never been to Moscow before. So in my mind, I'm thinking, what am I doing? And I wondered, did the suspected killer drive down these roads? It's just like all these thoughts went through my mind. So that night I had dinner at the Mad Greek where Maddie Mogan and Xana Kernodle had worked. And having dinner there was also a very unsettling and eerie experience. Shortly after that, I went to the Corner Club and I could just feel there was this tension you can cut through with a knife. So I arrived at the Corner Club, I had a drink, and then I looked down at the table and I see a picture of Maddie, Xana, and Ethan and Kaylee under the glass table. That one famous photo that's all over the news. And I'm just like, there's something about reading it and another kind of feeling when you're just in the location and looking at their picture real time. I just thought, I'm here, I'm reporting, I just want to go to all the places and see what it's like. So that was my first night. But I will say, I was at the murder site quite a few times, and there are Ring cameras. Neighbors have cameras, and I do wonder if the police have taken them in and what they might discover.
You bring up neighbors. I've seen certain people give interviews on the news or et cetera, because look, it was a house amongst many. From what we've been told, it's sort of a dead end street. You would be super intentional if you were going to that particular house, right? It's not on a major road that goes to someplace else.
Yeah, that's accurate. I mean, it took me a few moments to recognize it because the house was boarded up. So the house is hard to spot, but once you're there, the neighbors and people immediately see you and they're not happy for you to be there, and rightfully so. And I wonder if the demolishment of the home had a lot to do with that, this constant reminder.
Whether you're reading about it or hearing about it on a podcast or seeing it on the news, it's very different than when you're actually boots on the ground. And it's hard not to imagine the victims in their last steps and their last meals. It's impossible not to be haunted by that.
Vicarious trauma is real. One of the community members told me, Moscow will never be the same again. And when I heard that, it broke my heart because it's true. This case has totally changed the energy of this town and how people even engage with one another.
Tanya, I'm very interested to get into the fact of what it was like because you were there and attended hearings with the accused, with people we have now only seen on TV or in still pictures. And I'm reminded of when we were covering the Piketon massacre and we went to several of the trials, and I was there when convicted murderer Jake Wagner was there. And it was so striking to me, just the feel in this courtroom. And there was nobody on the Wagner side. There was nobody on the accused side to support them. Not one person of support, not a family member, a friend, a reverend. Whereas on the victim's side, the victim's family were there, absolutely steadfast and just holding court in the courtroom on their.
Yeah, because that case, that town's like 3,000. If anybody would have went and tried to take up for the people that unalived this whole family, including children, they would have been cast with stones out of the town. I mean, they would have been thrown out of the town and every town surrounding it. So everyone would have shut their mouth.
Their side. So it was a really interesting juxtaposition.
Even if they had a friend, they didn't have one after that.
What was the feeling like? Can you describe what the hearings were like?
The first hearing I went to was the arraignment. And while I stood outside of the courthouse, I encountered this couple that came in from another country that were on this crime tourism thing. And that was their form of taking a vacation, coming to this arraignment. And, Moscow's a really small town. So the organization of letting reporters, community members all into the courthouse was a bit of I don't want to say a mess, but they have never dealt with anything like this before. There's just this overwhelming amount of international, national news reporters, sleuths, and just everyone, and residents just wanting to see. And I remember I had to put my name on the list. And then I went in, and Kohberger arrived in an orange jumpsuit, and Ann Taylor, a couple of police officers, the judge, obviously. And then I look and I see, if I'm not mistaken, the Gonsalves family were at the arraignment, and Shannon Gray, their attorney.
Wait, the arraignment is a big deal too. Is that the first time that Mr. Gonsalves would have seen the accused Brian Kohberger in the courtroom face to face?
I would think so.
I think so too.
Then after the charges were read, Brian Kohberger's attorney declined to enter a plea and elected to stand silent. That prompted the judge to enter a not guilty plea. This is the interesting thing that I've been reporting on and I haven't talked about, and I'm talking about with you, is I walk out, I'm sitting in the hallway, and there's about to be another hearing. I forget what the hearing was. And then I see the Gonsalves family just walk right past me through the hallway, just running. And they're running down the street. And I look outside, I run out too, and I see all these cameras just running behind them, after them. And that was really unsettling to watch. This grieving family coming here, to this hearing, facing this situation and then this overwhelming presence of intrusion, essentially.
I see all sides of that. On the one hand, you have to go and you have to report on it. And it should make us mad as hell that these families have been put through it, right? We want to, again, support and rally around them. And that's the fine line. So now there you are. Obviously, the emotion in the courtroom has to be major. What was it like seeing him for the first time?
I can say seeing him in an orange jumpsuit and his face in real time made it very real. I don't know how to explain that. I'm sure you both relate. It just, everything just felt almost too real. And yeah, it was a tense moment because the families were there, community leaders, journalists, just everybody just there, focused on this moment. And it went by pretty fast, honestly. The other hearing I went to, which was on June 27th, was interesting because it was the first time I had seen Kohberger wearing a suit. I'm sitting towards the back and I see Kohberger walk in, suited and booted, hair gelled, just looking very put together. Quite the contrast from when I had seen him last in an orange jumpsuit. I'm sitting towards the back and then I see him walk in and then we locked eyes. It felt like chills went down my spine. I felt gutted in my stomach. Those few seconds felt like a whole 5 minutes, felt much longer than the gaze. And when I looked in his eyes, there was this very blank stare, almost like gray. But that's how I would describe it.
Was Brian Kohberger's parents or his siblings or any family members present at any of the hearings that you can recall?
No, I didn't see anyone from his family.
Wow. It's a tough one, right? On the one hand, you respect the privacy, they're under a gag order. Going to the courtroom is going to create perhaps more of a frenzy and open the door to more questions. On the other side of that, you would want to show support because by showing up, it is saying loud and clear, we do not believe these charges. Our son or our family member is innocent. And it's a confusing thing. I don't have a personal opinion on it. It's a really big deal to be in a situation where, and Courtney can speak to this as well, and I've been in courtrooms before with convicted killers. In your case, there has been no conviction. He claims his innocence. And I don't think that can be understated. Specifically, Courtney, when she went to Jake Wagner, the accused Pike County murderer's trial, we had been tag teaming. And Court, not to put words in your mouth, but you were visibly upset because you had, seemingly locked eyes with Jake Wagner. And I was like, no, wait, what? You locked eyes? He did it. He said he did it. And we know he's capable of murdering 8 people. And we were shook, if you want to share a little bit.
Yeah, just his affect. This is a man who he helped coordinate and helped fuel his family members to murder 8 other people, including the mother of his child, including the grandmother of his child. And as he is telling the details of this, meticulously and slowly, as you do during examination and cross examination, the callousness, it wasn't even like describing a holiday event. It was more like describing going to the grocery store. Just the lack of feeling, and a lot was made of this in the press, and it really was the truth. He's smirking. He was smirking telling this, and it was deeply unsettling.
She came back, and then I went to George Wagner's trial, and Angela, the mother, who also at that point had taken a plea deal and confessed to plotting the murders of 8 people she knew and knew very well, and was going to now testify against her eldest son, guaranteeing him life in prison. I had to almost look down. I was petrified to lock eyes with her based on Courtney's experience. Did you notice if and I'm speaking of the accused now, Brian Kohberger, did he have any reaction that you noticed or worth noting at any of the hearings that you were at that maybe we haven't seen ourselves?
He walked in with his suit and tie. Ann Taylor was really well put together herself. Her hair was blow dried and curled, and Both of them looked very put together, unlike the previous hearing where he was in an orange jumpsuit. And during the proceedings, she continued to say that her client was not a fishing expedition and she wanted to see what evidence the prosecution had against her client. So there was a lot of back and forth about that during that particular hearing. And she said, quote unquote, "We've asked for several things that we still need." So, and those include cell phone investigations and what led the police to seek out a Hyundai like the one driven by Kohberger. There was a sense of confidence with Ann Taylor that permeated the room. And I remember going to the bar afterwards and I would just listen in on people just talking. And they'd say, like, how could she do this? If he like steps foot out of that jail, like he gets shot in the head. I'm surprised he hasn't been shot by now, like one of the residents said. Like,
That must have been the same resident that went after Bullhorn Betty. I was trying to find the video of the guy that went after JLR when he was in Idaho. I'm telling you, I'm pretty positive. I'm like 100% positive that it's the same guy that was messing with Betty when she was there. The guy with the American flag hanging out of the back of his truck. That guy.
like it was wild. Also, like this very rural aspect to Idaho residents or Moscow residents. A lot of these men that I've met were doing physical labor, jobs that were very physically demanding, and coming to the bar was just a space to let loose. And the bar is the spot for all of the community folk coming together. There are trivia games, all friends meeting up, college kids. It's just the area where everyone flocks to.
Let's stop here for a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Light up your moment, communication and more. Whatever your interest, we have the degree to
Unlock sales event Saturday.
During your visits, did you
Today, you won't want to miss these deals. Visit fisherhomes.com and connect with a new home advisor.
During your visits, did you encounter anyone who knew the victims or were in their circle and sort of could speak to the before when everything was, quote, normal?
I went to the University of Idaho and contacted their journalism department, and it ended up being this really fascinating, organic experience where I engaged with the student newspaper, the Argonauts, the student journalists who were the first ones on the ground when the murders took place. And I can't begin to tell you how hard it hit them psychologically. And just listening to their stories and how they covered this day by day, no sleep, not eating, just there. Can't begin to imagine what it's like to be a student journalist living through and reporting on such a tragedy, such a travesty. And one of the students was childhood friends with Xana Kernodle. But for him, what was striking to me about him was how personal this is, while also wanting to be a good journalist and tell the story the right way. So I would say that would be my most striking example of getting close to the story and people connected to it. I don't want to paint Moscow as a town that's just, yeah, it's forever changed and this horrible tragedy, these tragic murders took place. But at the same time, I also see the resilience of the community. It's a very strong community. And with the students too, they want to go on with their lives. And so the campus, while there was this somber energy, I would say there was also it's a bubbly college town. It's just very nice. It's wonderful, actually.
Was there a sense while you were there during the time of these hearings, did it feel like in the town that, wait, maybe this isn't the guy and like we're still unsafe? Did it seem as though, wait, look, there could still be a killer at large? Did you feel scared or did it feel like it settled a little bit?
A lot of the residents that I spoke to, they said that they think it's Kohberger, and there was a sense of ease among many of them, the ones I had spoken to. Ease is not the word, but a sense of, okay, he's in jail. He's in the basement of the jail, which, mind you, my Airbnb that I slept in at
In the
night
basement.
faced his jail cell, which was an interesting way to sleep. So when I opened my window from my bedroom, I would see where he was being held. So in terms of being afraid, I just wondered, oh, this is a small town and he's being held in this tiny little facility that seems really guarded up and protected, but still there's like a little bit of there's an anxiety that rolls in when you're in such close proximity to this alleged killer.
What did it look like from your Airbnb window?
From all ends, right? The Airbnb window, and then I'd go do my groceries and I'd have to walk up the hill and pass by where he's being held. So it was a constant reality for me. Even the Airbnb host that I was renting from, she said that she was really concerned about the property value and if people would even want to stay there. And so there's like this sense of like, you can sense that change as well, this unsettled feeling of the people who live near the courthouse. Yeah, walking by, I notice a gate, like a fenced up gate. I think that's the open air area. That's what one of the community residents told me, that the prisoners are brought out to walk outside and get sunshine. So he was being held in that area.
Having been there, what are people getting wrong? What do people need to know about the actualities?
I think there's, for the community, for friends of the victims, for those people, there's a lack of empathy in the reporting by the journalists or documentarians covering this case, which really puts off the residents to even want to talk to anyone. And so the biggest takeaway for me was these victims, like, who were they before all this? Like, what are the stories? And we don't hear enough of that. Honoring their lives, honoring their light, what they brought to the world, I think would do a great justice to the story, and I don't think has been done enough.
I don't know if you had heard anything about Doug Wilson or the Christchurch in town. If you care to comment, if you have a thought, if you
Yeah,
observed anything.
sure.
Okay, what do you know?
There's a podcast out called Extremely American. It's really good. It's about Christchurch, and it goes into details about Doug Wilson and all that. So in my reporting, not only did I go to the bar, to Mad Greek, to all the spots, I also went to a Christchurch service, and yeah, it's very interesting because it really kind of summarizes Moscow, because there's this tension between this demographic that I really connected with, like these people who are just completely liberal. It's like the blue dot of Idaho. And then this contrasting force, though small, I mean, like they're a minority, but still have impact because they bought, I think, 20% of the real estate in Moscow. Yeah, I went to their service and it was a very uncomfortable experience. I got very patriarchal, man, cultish vibes. I'm not in a position to comment further because I don't know enough about them, but what I do know is the Moscow residents that I did speak to and engage with are just disgusted by Christchurch and their beliefs and yeah, and Doug Wilson. There's a cafe that everyone goes to. It's called One World Cafe. And I went there all the time. The students were there all the time. Professors would go there. It's just like when you go into that establishment, you're safe. And then there are like Christchurch establishments that are there too. And when I walk into those spaces, I'm like, oh, this does not. That's such a good question, Courtney, because that's Moscow. It's these two extreme worlds somehow coexisting together through it, on top of tragic murders that took place there.
Just the dichotomy it seems fascinating. And, I had brought it up only because I'm really curious of the potential, depending upon if the churchgoers end up on the jury, what that will mean.
I do wonder what that means for the future of this case and what role they will play, for sure. Mm-hmm. That is if the case is going to take place in Latah County, if it is even. We don't know yet.
Let's stop here for another break. We'll be back in a moment.
Light up
You're listening to Business.
your dream home.
After this conversation, Stephanie and I got further interested in Doug Wilson's Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. We wanted to look into it as a way to understand the backdrop of a portion of this community.
It's sort of an interesting juxtaposition that there is, on the one side, this college town where there are students and it's very free thinking and liberal. And then on the flip of that, there's a really big portion of the town that attends this very specific church. And their teachings are, in fact, very controversial. So we decided to do a deeper dive. So the name of the church is Christ Church in Moscow, and it's run by a pastor named Doug Wilson. And his writings and his teachings really have received a lot of backlash, specifically in the press. And it seems as though, for some good reason, the church's teachings and Wilson's leadership has sparked a lot of resistance in the town of Moscow. And when doing our research, it became pretty clear that there have been some really scary allegations brought up against the church and the pastor, specifically some sexual allegations and reports of pedophilia.
It's a Calvinist church, and the mission, according to its own website, is to make Moscow, quote, a Christian town under God's grace. And this brought national attention to the town of Moscow. Just 2 months before the massacres happened, Doug Wilson was on Meet the Press. It had to do with the larger idea of the struggle between liberalism and Christian nationalism. So this was really a way to spotlight it. Since
Isn't Meet the Press on? Isn't that the show that's on Sundays with the old guy? I used to watch that. I think that's what it was called.
again, the whole mission is to turn the town under God's rule. So in this case, Doug
Okay.
Wilson has come out and said, for example, there would be new rules and new laws, like no gay marriage, because it would be presided over by God's rules and not the
Ugh, that
government's.
doesn't sound good. Sounds scary.
Their teachings really are that women must be subservient to their husbands, and that essentially this small town should be run by the church.
What if you have a man that wouldn't let you be subservient to him? You know what I mean? Because I got me one of them. He'd be like, well, what the heck are you doing?
Church, meaning the laws that are either federal laws or even state laws would be
I guess don't go to Idaho.
dismissed, and that the church would have their godly rule over the area.
Hey, Phantom.
And speaking of, the controversies that you mentioned, it's incredibly patriarchal. And not only does Doug Wilson, the founder and pastor of the church, but also there's a school that goes from kindergarten up through college. And people have since come out and said they have been groomed to be submissive as women, and misogynistic language and teachings are pervasive. And some have claimed that this has led to abusive behavior.
In fact, several members of the church, including former deacon Alex Lloyd, who pleaded guilty to child pornography charges in 2022, they face arrests and convictions related to sex crimes.
And in addition to pedophilia, as you had mentioned, Doug Wilson wrote a book called Father Hunger. And in this book, specifically, he writes, quote, "The sexual act cannot be made into an egalitarian pleasuring party. A man penetrates, conquers, colonizes, plants. A woman receives, surrenders, and accepts."
And look, how this ties into the massacre, we're not making any assertions that anybody related to the church has any connection to the crimes themselves. It's just an interesting backdrop that we hadn't heard about before and we wanted to explore. A lot has been written about the fact that this particular church, 20% of the population of Moscow are church members. And that has been reported in the press as interesting or potentially problematic when selecting a jury pool. This particular church essentially grooms its members to not believe in law enforcement and to be weary of law enforcement. So Now you're choosing a jury pool, and invariably the numbers and the odds would be that if 1/5 of the population is a member of this church, that their teachings would not be in alignment with listening to proper forensics and police information as reported by first responders or Moscow law enforcement, for example.
And there's a particular incident that happened that really brings that to bear. So this happened in September of 2020. So it is the absolute height of COVID. And the members of Christ Church had an event called a Palm Sing, and they gathered in front of Moscow City Hall without masks, despite mandate. During that event, people were arrested for noncompliance of the mask
Ooh,
mandate.
that's not good.
So ultimately, 3 members of the congregation who were arrested, they went on to file a civil lawsuit for this arrest. And the town,
I just thought of something. I'm just picturing which one of you guys in the chat would be, which one of y'all were out there going, I ain't doing the mask. Or which one of you guys are out there still wearing the mask, because people are still wearing them where I live. I just put it on when they told me to. I guess I just followed them. I just followed the rules there. I don't know why I did, because I break them everywhere else.
some argue that the town buckled
But it was a slow process getting it on my face.
and that instead of going forward with prosecution, the city settled outside of court and agreed to pay $300,000 to dismiss all claims. So that again makes people nervous that what kind of influence does the church potentially have on officials? And also back to your point of the jury, the church itself has said we can't and shouldn't be abiding by police. They don't tell the truth. Their laws are not our laws. And so how might that, in fact, change a jury pool?
We were curious if that was something that happened in other places or other churches. And the 20% population piece of it seemed really high when I first heard it. But we have done some comparisons. Again, not comparisons on religion. We're not weighing in on that at all. Just the idea of a church or some place where people gather, what the influence on the town that would be. Maybe it's not super uncommon. For example, top of head, I'm thinking of Scientology. I know they have a center in Clearwater, Florida. And my understanding is the church itself has bought a lot of land in and around that town. Therefore, the businesses are also owned by Scientology. And the numbers in that regard are pretty extraordinary. Gabe, what are the stats on the Scientology Clearwater?
As of April 2024, the church, Scientology in Clearwater, Florida, owns 68 parcels of land worth about $168 million. And its presence in Clearwater has had a significant impact on the city, including property taxes, tourism, downtown revitalization.
Which is interesting because if a certain church owns a lot of the land, I would have to assume that's controversial for tax reasons or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But in this case, it seems as though the church is not buying up shops and locations in and around Moscow. It's just that this particular Christ Church has many congregants that live in the town. Therefore, they work in the town. And if they work in the town, of course, they're going to buy homes in the town. But it's not as though the Christ Church specifically is buying land. But it does seem to be this really unique intersection in surrounding areas like Troy, for example, another town over. There is now some pushback on this because they really do feel that these opposing forces are not heading down the right direction.
And the distinction you make between the church itself owning land and the congregants is something that Doug Wilson actually put a very fine point on because it has been such a bone of contention. So here's something else that he posted on his blog. Quote, I just mentioned our people building businesses. This is not something that is controlled in any way by the church. Our members are an enterprising bunch. Put another way, I don't own a chunk of downtown. The only thing I own downtown would be my truck when I'm there and the books in my office. So he's really putting a distance between himself and the businesses, I think, to help quell the argument that it is some sort of a takeover that's trying to be happening.
It seems like that is the main goal. And perhaps unlike Scientology, my loose understanding is Christchurch and its pastor, Doug Wilson, want to create their own laws for the town that do not abide by state laws or, frankly, even federal laws. And that's a really unusual mission. And, listen, there's these extreme cases of pedophilia accusations, sexual abuse accusations, violence against women, the notion that they are grooming women to be submissive to their husbands and to be, air quotes, receivers. This is some fundamental stuff that has undertones of The Handmaid's Tale or one of those scary shows that I literally can't watch because they are too scary.
It's funny you should mention Handmaid's Tale because it seems like Doug Wilson and or whoever's helping with his PR, they really use opposing arguments within their own arguments. So here's yet another thing that he posted. What about the Christian town part? If such a thing were to happen, it would happen quietly with no one really noticing it took shape. And then one day people would just wake up and realize the seal of the city had a church spire at the center of it. See above. We find dystopic scenarios of The Handmaid's Tale sort of as repulsive as you do. He then goes on to say what they have in mind is something akin to an 1892 Supreme Court decision that determined the United States was a Christian nation. And he ends with saying, we are not looking for a hellhole with Bible verses attached. He is hearkening back to 1892 for the future of Moscow.
That definitely feels like an odd step backward. I think we should continue to dig into this because Doug Wilson as a figure has been quoted as being very impressive and very charismatic, and that even if you do not believe a single thing that he's saying, that he has a very influential way about him. And what influence does that have on this case? But again, this is very uniquely different and kind of an undercurrent that people who have visited the area, as we've heard, this is really noticeable in the town too. You can feel it. It is a cross-section that's happening right now that isn't going anywhere and seems like it's only going to get worse.
More on that next time. For more information on the case and relevant photos,
What does she mean more on that next time? Well, there isn't a next time. I mean, there might be a next time. There might be a season 3. This was supposed to be the season 2, the last one. So we'll see. Let me get this banner down, and get these up. Oh, there's me. There I am. There I am. But that's all I had to show you. I just wanted to show you that boots on the ground. I'm trying to wonder I'm wondering who that Tanya girl is, because I do feel like I remember like a Muslim lady being in Idaho doing coverage on the case, but I don't remember her name, so it could have been Tanya. I could have just not known her name. But yeah, no relation to me. I said that earlier because I think I'm funny. I think I'm so funny. Good vibes light, or good vibes tonight. Mike Jetson. Oh, Mary Beth, that's probably why someone tried to take your phone. I was actually in LA and I left my phone in the bathroom because I'm not smart. Like, I'm not. When it comes to my phone, I'm not good with it. I'm not good at I'm just like that with a lot of things. If it's in my hand and I sit it down, I'm going to forget it. And I forgot it. And we left the gas station. And so if you've ever been in LA, if you leave a place, you're not going to get back into that place within like at least 5 minutes. It's going to take you. Even if you turn around right when it's going to take you minimum 5-10 minutes. So we're waiting to get back there. And Vincent goes to he pulls in and he sees this guy holding my phone. And it was the same exact case almost, but it was different pineapples. Where's that case? Oh, it was a different phone. So that's why. But I had this other pineapple, loopy case, and he saw it in the guy's hand, and he stops the vehicle, jumps out. Vincent does. My Vincent. I couldn't believe it. I was so impressed. And he was like, sir, he's like, that's my girlfriend's phone. And the guy was like, oh, okay. He was just, you could tell the guy came outside to kind of he was like looking around. Like, I think he was genuinely trying to look to give it back to the person. Like, because he came out and he was like, had it in his hand and you could see him like looking around. Like he was trying to look for maybe a girl, because I mean, this is kind of a girly case. But yeah, I left it in the bathroom because I just get up, wash my hands, and I don't think to grab it, I should have insurance on that thing though. But I think if you have insurance on your phone, you might as well just buy a new phone. It's like $500 or something crazy when you pay the insurance, I don't know how much it is. It's a lot though. It seems like it is anyway. But I couldn't imagine not having my phone. I mean, I'd have been like, can you get me a new phone? Yeah, the deductible sucks. Yeah. They used to, do you remember back in the day when they didn't have insurance deductibles on your phone? I do. It was back when I had the BlackBerry. That's a long time ago. But they didn't have it. You didn't have to pay for insurance. So anytime I scratched that thing or chipped it or anytime, I would take it into my best buddy because he worked in Sprint and he would switch it out for a new phone because there was no, if you paid like the $7 a month or something like that, you didn't have to pay any more. You didn't have to pay the double, like the extra. And then it went to like 150 and then it went up. You loved your Blackberries? Me too. I had a BlackBerry type. It was but it was a Motorola, and I loved that one too. But I don't know what kind of phone it was. Motorola something, and I loved it. I like the BlackBerry. Why don't they bring them back? They canceled them, and the Razors too. Bring the Razor back. Actually, that phone could you do anything. You could throw that phone, and those flip phones, those things, you could throw them in the air, and they could break into like 5 pieces, and you just put them right back together. I've done it. It's a rip-off paying for insurance on a phone. Yeah, seems like it. I think we're getting ready to switch our phones, like our service back to Verizon or something. I don't like Verizon. Yeah, my mom had that. Well, it was like a touch screen, but it wasn't even touch screen actually. It was like the slide phone. Remember the slide? It like slid up. The pink Razor, that's the one my mom had, Nash Native, and she swore by that phone. She's like, I don't know why I can't just use this Razor. It was outdated. It was I remember my best friend bedazzled hers. Her Razor, her phone, she bedazzled it and it was so pretty because she's like artsy and I'm not. If I would have tried that, I would have had glue all over my phone and no jewels on there. It'd have been bad. They had some cool phones back in the day. I mean, they're cool now. They are cool. They're pretty cool now. Gotta admit. But I think we thought they were so much cooler maybe as we were younger. I don't know. They were pretty cool though. I remember my first phone is my brother's old phone had an antenna, an actual antenna. Like it was big. It was a big phone too. It was like this big. It was pretty big. It was every bit as big as this one, just wider, a lot wider. Yeah, well, we're gonna go. I think just back to Verizon because I think that's what Vincent liked. Oh, they still have the walkie-talkie phones, Sprint phones. The Nextels. I think they were the Nextels. Those are like the phones that like construction guys, they still carry them. They're like bulky now too. My brother has them. He uses them for they use them for his work, I think. Nokia, yeah. I don't know if it's like the same brand, if they changed the brand up or anything, but I think they still have it. I haven't seen my brother in a while though, so he could not have it anymore. I know. I call it Sprint. I'll call it Sprint till the day that it's not. No, I'm not here anymore. I always say Sprint. If I did say it, but I'm in Sprint like in the past tense whenever I was using Sprint. Because my friend used to work for them. And then when they bought T-Mobile, I was like, that's kind of a weird, trashy move. Like to me, I mean, I don't know. It seemed like T-Mobile was a smaller brand than Sprint. To me at the time, I was like, that's a weird move. And now is someone buying both of them out or something? Someone's getting ready to buy one of the bigger companies out. I forget who it is. It could be T-Mobile. I forget who it was. I heard it somewhere. Like I forget. I read it. Yeah, Sprint with the T-Mobile, but I think that someone's going to buy that whole company out again. Or maybe it was like someone's going to buy Verizon. It was one of the big ones. I can't remember exactly which one. If you guys know and you're watching on replay, put it in the comments. Antitrust issue. I don't even know what phone I have now. This was 13 Pro. 13 Pro Max. I had to think about it. I had to think hard for that. I forgot which kind of phone I had. A bag phone? It was in like a bag, like a purse? Like a bag, like a bag? Never heard one of those. I've heard of a car phone. Now a bag phone, now that's impressive. That'd probably be heavy. You know what I mean? Carry that around. Tony was old. I am old. I am old. I say everything that's old. I mean, I feel like I have an old soul. Like what else do I say? I say other things. And it's like no one says that anymore. Like who says that? Me? I say it. I still say it. Oh, really? Oh, you don't carry it? Oh, I was say you can just carry like thought it was like a purse, you know, you just sling that thing over like a tote bag. Just walk around. That wouldn't be a cool idea. My dad had a phone, a car phone, and he thought it was so cool. It came with it. Like the phone came with the car. And he just thought it was so cool. I don't think he ever even used it. Maybe one time or two times. But I mean, you know, my mom was at work after he got off work. She'd probably say, "Don't you dare call me on that thing." So we do, yeah, there's a hearing coming up, Nash Native, on the 20, I think the 26th is the date. So it's like in a few days. It's not, yeah. I want to say it's like the end of this month we have a date. But I'll have to double check on that. But I think we do. Yeah, I think we do. I don't know if it'll come up if I put it in search. Yeah, it just comes up June. But yeah, I think it's the end of this month. There was one. Because they're going to have one like every month until trial or something like that, they said. Oh, yeah, BHB has her date coming up. That woman is pure. Oh, my gosh. I'll say it again. What she said to Queen Bee earlier. Well, what we said, we heard in our live earlier. Okay, so I listened to the live, like bits and pieces of it before I came live. And I did not. I wish I would have heard that before the live because that was a genuine reaction and I physically felt ill. It felt like someone punched me in my stomach. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I hearing? And if you didn't hear it, you're lucky. But let's just say that she said that Queen's mom chose to die to get away from her. Like, I was listening to Queen's live. I didn't get to the part where they like reviewed the video yet. I want to hear what she has to say about that. Because I would go nuts. I mean, I would. I hope somebody told her first because I would go nuts. I mean, you guys saw my reaction. I mean, if you go back, if you haven't watched it, it's a genuine reaction. I was like, what? Because I've lost my mother and I know what it feels like to like just lose that person. And for Betty to say that, she's extremely lucky she still has her mother. And tomorrow's not guaranteed. How old are you, Betty? 44? How old's your mom then? Right? I mean, come on, you better start thinking about that. Karma. Don't mess with Karma. She ugly. That's where you heard it. What'd she say, Nash Native? Did she know that it was coming in there? Because sometimes Queen Bee don't like listen to things beforehand. She just gets it, and like a subscriber will like tell her something. Oh man. I mean, that's the rudest thing I've ever heard. I already thought she was like a mean, nasty woman. You know what I mean? But this was like a whole, I've been here since Quentin Simon and I still was like, it's just it's Betty, but after today, oh, I just can't even. Like if you wanted to get someone, you did. You got to me. Got me mad. Right? Also, instead, yeah. Well, do you hear what she's wanting people to do? She's wanting to, she's wanting anybody that has anything that Queen Bee has said against BHB. She wants them to write an affidavit up. She wants them to take this affidavit, her subscribers, take it, go get it notarized, and then send it to her. But it has to be notarized. I'm just like, what? Oh yeah, Debbie, it was nasty. It was, I mean, it was like you just don't go, like, you know what I mean? Like, and it's crazy. Oh, her mom's not dead. Oh, well, Brooke. Oh, that makes me feel better. I've been feeling bad for her all day. That makes my stomach feel a little better. I mean, it doesn't, but it does because that's still your aunt. You know what I mean? Like that's still your aunt. That could be like a mother to you. Her her subs did call her out, Catherine. Some of them did. I think some of them because she was like, "You guys waited 5 days to say this because she's on 5 days subscriber only mode. You have to be a subscriber for 5 days before you can chat." And I think those people were her in her own chat that were doing that. I think they were like, they saw the nasty because it was it was a lot. It was a lot of people. She kept saying like, troll, troll, like every couple of seconds. It seemed like I'm like, she's very unhinged. Today was like the. I think that when she goes to court for this with Chris and Katie, this is going to be what's going to tip her over. What do you guys think? It's so off limits. Yeah, you just don't. There's just certain things you don't attack, that don't attack somebody's teeth because a lot of times people can't help that. And dental care in the United States is a freaking joke. Don't attack somebody because of their weight. You never know. Some people can't control their weight because they have medical problems. Just there's some like, what I mean? If you're going to attack someone and call them a name, call them a name. You know what I mean? Like call them a name, but don't go after their family. Don't go after their family. Families are off limits. Thank you, Michelle. It literally felt like somebody hit me in the stomach today when she said that. I felt like that was personal, and she don't even know me probably, but I took it personal. I mean, it made my stomach hurt. I'm an empath, but I've never felt that like that for somebody on like YouTube before. Like that was like I felt so bad for Queen. I'm glad her mom hasn't passed. Now she needs to do a video short with her mom. Just like something funny, you know what I mean? Because that would be funny to do because Betty's wrong again. Betty's just bitter. She's just bitter. She's so bitter. She doesn't have a boyfriend. She don't have any friends. Don't have a girlfriend. Yeah, Sumner County is done. I hope that something happens. I hope she gets arrested while she's done that. I think that'd be funny. Just saying. It's Queen season. She says that all the time. What's her name? Just saying. No, Brooke isn't here. This Brooke. I was like, wait, what? I was say I haven't seen. Well, Brooks was in my comments the other day. She said something I think about one of my videos. I forget which one. No, yeah, there's a lot of people with mental. I'm me, one of them. Saw my counselor today. Don't really know why I see a counselor. I date her. Phantom Growler says. I'm reading the chat. Oh, Sirius Black, that's so sweet of you. She did. Oh, and JLR kind of did. He kind of did respond. Okay, what did he say tonight? Y'all, he says stuff. You just gotta listen to it. You just gotta listen for it. He said something right in the beginning of his. I was watching his live today. I'm about to go over there. It's just so I could tell you what it was because it was like right in the beginning of his live. I forget exactly what it was. trying to see if I can find it. I can't remember exactly what he said, but it was just something like, but it was like a dig. It was like one word. It was like nobody caught it. No one in the chat caught it. Everyone's going, "Hey JLR, hey Magnolia, blah blah blah." Like, and I'm over here laughing, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something real simple, like something real simple. And then he ended up saying something else. He was like, I don't know if this YouTuber did it or didn't do it. He's kind of like he doesn't know her. And I like that. I like it. I think that it's that I just don't even, I don't think he even knew he was in a relationship, but he did say something. It was so funny. I'll have to listen to it again, his live, so I can tell you guys, because it was just something real funny. I'll have to keep listening to it. Oh yeah, that's what it was. I've been boots on the ground. This is almost like the go-to channel for everything Sebastian Rogers. That's what he said. And just the way he said it, I was just like, because like he has that Facebook page, Betty has the other Facebook page. They're both like neck and neck with subscribers. They're going back and forth. Now this, if you want to know another duo that is not like Betty and JLR, they're better. Nancy Grace just picked up with Law and Crime. They're playing her old videos now on Law and Crime, and now I wonder what Vinnie Politan thinks of that, because he's been kind of going hard on Nancy lately. I want to go in his chat and ask him, because he's on Court TV. Be like, what do you think about Nancy getting that? Whatever. I don't know what it's called, but she just like gives her videos to them, and they play her old videos now. Richard. Wood burning art. Oh wow, that sounds pretty. Oh, I didn't hear about Tony. Today he did? Where was that at? We're going to have Steven Crab Trail show tomorrow. We're going to talk about everything from his point of view. Just everything. So it should be good. Bring your questions, just make sure you guys are fine. Make sure everyone's tasteful. Help me out in the chat tomorrow, guys, if you don't mind. I told Vince, I was like, I might need you to be like battering up. They batter up. It was on Clues. Oh, wow. I'll have to go over and check it out. Oh, no, I want him to come up. I want him to say everything he's got to say, Me too, Yvonne. Me too. The drama. I didn't know that Tony was like saying stuff. Country witness. Yeah, that's a long live. I couldn't sit here for 8 hours. If we did an 8-hour live, I'd have to take you guys with me. I'd have to take my portable like desk with the wheels. But then where do you do with your mic and stuff? I mean, I guess you just have it wire free. I don't know. I'd have to just do it on my phone. That's why a lot of people, they'll stream on their phone. Because I should do that with you guys. I'm just usually like, for like 2 hours during the morning, I just sit here and clean. I don't know why. I don't need to clean, but I do. I'm like, I could be talking to you guys. Yeah, Roxanne. Yeah. He should have fired Tony. I don't understand why he's still there. Don't understand it. I don't understand that. I don't understand that at all. Get away from him. Seth. I mean, you don't need a friend like that. Like, we can get you another friend. Yeah. I hate that you can't do that. Like over on TikTok, it just deletes. Did you know that you have to have over like 5,000 subscribers to show your face on a TikTok live? Am I the only person who didn't know that? So I was like, oh, I only need like 1,000 people and I can go live on TikTok. Well, I can't show my face. Why can't I show my face? Need more subscribers. Yes, fire Tony and BHB. Yeah, 5,000 subscribers or followers over there. And I'm like, what? I don't put enough content on there to get that many. So everyone go over subscribe. And then today, I'm going to tell you something before we get off here real quick. I'm going to complain about YouTube. They took from me 940 or 960. I think it was 940 watch hours. So for every I don't even know. It's for every 100 views, you get one watch time view. It's so crazy. It's so hard to get watch time hours. I was 40 away from being monetized. And now I'm 1,000. So I'm and I went to YouTube help. They were not helpful. She kept just telling me to look in the same place I was already looking. I said, I know, I can look at the number right now and tell you, but I'm telling you what it was, ma'am. I'm I wouldn't just cheat someone out of 900 watch time hours. That's not a lot. I mean, you know what I mean? That's literally probably $3, if that, maybe $2. I don't know. It's not that much. So I was just trying to monetize my channel over a year. So if you guys are bored tonight, you can always just watch my channel over on Unfiltered, or this channel you can watch here too. But I'm gonna play it in the background or something. I'm gonna be clean into my own channel. Someone gave me the idea in the comment section. They're like, I could put your channel on at night. And I'm like, that works. I'm like, I love that idea. Yeah, he's setting up a protest at him and Bullhorn Betty. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. But thank you guys all for being here tonight. I do appreciate it. I'll be back tomorrow. We may do a day live, maybe a members live or something. We'll try to do one either today or tomorrow or the next day. But tomorrow is Saturday, so I don't never know what we're gonna do. But thanks for being here tonight, guys. I'll be back tomorrow night though at 9:35 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I hope to see you guys there. Bye, guys.